One of our clients actually asked if they could build a runway to land one of their private planes. We have a lot of helipads up in the mountains. We've done, wave swimming pools. We deliver you a fully furnished and managed home. When we give you the key, you can sleep in it on that first night. You bring your own clothes. What we're not doing is going into some mass market location and building mass market homes. Each home is a work of art.
Before we started recording, you were telling me about this recently concluded nearly 100 crore home that somebody bought. What kind of net worth does somebody like that need to have?
An average Isprava home costs about 50-60 crores. As we speak, we're building about 500 unique homes across 4 locations in India. About 50 to 60% of our customers are professionals who bought a home in Goa and Alibag and rent a home in Mumbai, Delhi or Bangalore.
Wow, I would have thought most of the clients would be like business owners, but you're saying actually it's 50-60% is actually professionals who in their lifetime have created this wealth.
Absolutely. And that's what's so interesting.
Nibhrant, you've built a business where you've sold 5,000 crores or more worth of real estate. For somebody who doesn't know Isprava or doesn't know enough about you, tell us a little bit about how you describe the business and what is behind it.
So we currently have 4 brands. There's Isprava, which is our very ultra luxury real estate development brand. And we focus on non-urban holiday home locations such as Goa, Alibag, Kasauli, etc. An average Isprava home, costs about $2 million, 12 to 15 crores, but we go up to, even 50, 60 crores. We then have the Chapter, which is also a real estate development brand in similar locations, but where the average ticket size is significantly less. So, that's your $500,000 to $1 million kind of brand. Then we have a hospitality brand called Lohono, where India's leading luxury villa rental company. So think of it as, you go as a guest and you rent a villa, but there's true hospitality kind of hotel level service layered on. And then the 4th brand is Solene, which is a brand new kind of members only club. So we've just launched a new small one in Goa, but that's something we're going to kind of scale across India.
Amazing. So, Nibhrant, I want to switch to like who the client for you is, right? You said on the platform there are 3 brands. Isprava may have a different client base as opposed to Chapter. So just like paint this picture of each of these individuals, and it'll be great to understand what their motivation behind engaging with Isprava or Chapter, etc. is like what are they really looking for?
Yeah. If you look at our customers first, let me just break it up into 2 parts, right? One is pure play holiday home buyer. These are people who use their homes for less than 3 months in the year. It's usually long weekends, holidays, etc. And then you have what we call our semi-primary or primary buyers, right? These are people who moved out of big cities, have moved to Goa, moved to Alibag and say, look, this is now our primary home, right? If I had to categorize them, they range from, industrialists to Bollywood to cricketers to tech. But what we also see is there's a huge cohort of professionals. And we find it quite unique. And let me give you an example to explain what I mean.
Yeah.
A professional who works for a law firm or works as an investment banker or works at a senior level, even, for a FMCG company, they have a certain lifestyle and expect a certain lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And what they then kind of study and tell themselves is, look, I work in Mumbai. I want a certain lifestyle. If I were to buy an apartment, and I'm not originally from Mumbai, right? I've grown up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to buy an apartment in Mumbai that matches my lifestyle, I would have to spend 20, 30, maybe even 40 crores.
Yeah.
I could rent that apartment at a 1% rental yield.
Yeah.
So, I could spend 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, the same apartment, 5 lakhs a month at that 1% rental yield. I could then take, instead of spending 20, 30 or 40 crores, I could go buy an 8 crore, 9 crore home in Alibag or Goa. That home will be significantly larger with a garden, a swimming pool. Kid can run around and play football, breathe clean air. And then you can truly, truly enjoy it, right? And then suddenly it makes a lot of sense, right? And so if you see our mix, about 50 to 60% of our customers are professionals who bought a home in Goa and Alibag and rent a home in Mumbai, Delhi or Bangalore.
Wow, I would have thought most of the clients would be like folks who are like business owners and run large industrial groups. But you're saying actually it's 50-60% is actually professionals who in their lifetime have created this wealth.
Absolutely. And that's what's so interesting.
Nibhrant, you've dealt with some of the most unique folks who have done really well in their careers and professionally. I'm sure they have also unique requirements coming out of the house, right? What are some of the things that have been head scratchers for you? Like,
so we've had quite a few, and sometimes we recommend quite a few.
Okay.
Funnily enough, but everything from ranging to the basic stuff, his and her bathrooms, 2 master bedrooms touching each other for different couples, to more unique things. So now the new buzz and trend are ice baths, saunas. We've done bowling alleys. We did our first pickleball court in 2018 or 19 when no one knew what pickleball was. We've been doing paddle courts since 2018 and 19 as well. Up in the mountains, we've done wave swimming pools. We've done a lot of the time a lot of customized stuff. Crockery, cutlery, etc. Some unique things for kids. Tree houses, underground tunnels. We've done a bunker. If the world's ending kind of bunker, which is again unique. So it has its own air supply, its own generators that run off grid, its own air supply and purification method, water supply and water purification. Again, very, very unique. I couldn't believe it was true. And, it's a very American thing. It's something you read in the papers, but, this one client wanted us to do it. We have a lot of helipads, people wanting to land in their own property. I think now is no longer unique for us, but that's something we do. One of our clients actually asked if they could build a runway to land one of their private planes, to which we obviously said no. But yeah, cool things like that.
Yeah, I'm like very fascinated what was going on in the mind of somebody who built a doomsday bunker in a holiday home. It sounds very interesting.
Funnily enough, that came after COVID.
Okay.
And the thought process was, in case there's a biological attack, maybe not COVID, but I don't know what the I don't know what the urban legend or the myths are around it, but at least there's somewhere they could escape to.
Sure. So that's for most part Isprava.
Right.
Now what about Chapter, which is the other brand? You told me it's pretty cool. There's a lot of tech involved there, but is the client base also different?
Yeah, so I'll spend a minute on the Chapter first, right? So the Chapter is also a luxury brand. It's just product that's a little different from the Isprava product in terms of price points, right? So while the average Isprava home is 12 to 15 crores, the average Chapter home is about 4 crores, right? So it's 1/3 the price. What we did with the Chapter is really cool, right? We made these modular designs, the CX for a customer. As the customer comes in, we have looks at the back end. You can choose the look you want. You design your own home, and then voila, in 12 to 14 months, you get this beautiful home designed by you, right?
Sure.
Now, like I said, the average ticket size in the Chapter is about 4 crores. Here, you would think that, okay, in Isprava, if it's about 50% of our clients are professional, while the other 50% are industrialists and Bollywood stars and cricketers, the skew would be different. But, funnily enough, in the Chapter, the skew is quite the same, right? It's still 50 to 60% professionals, and you still have, the businessmen and the Bollywood and the cricketers, because the product is not very different. It's just the use case is a little different, right? And I'll give you an example. We have industrialists who have 2 or 3 kids. So they say, instead of buying one big Isprava home for 15 or 20 crores, I'll spend the same amount of money, but buy 3 Chapter homes, because the product quality is similar, right?
Sure.
So buy 2 to 3 Chapter homes for my 2 or 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
Or you have people who say, look, the product's great. I don't want to allocate so much capital towards what might be deemed to be a holiday home. So I might allocate less capital because I can still see myself living in a product of a similar quality, right?
Sure.
Of course, not the same, but of similar quality. So that's kind of how the mix is. Of course, if you're truly looking at investment, which is rental yield, etc., the Chapter will always make more sense. If you're looking at capital gains, Isprava is slightly better in that sense, right? Just because it's slightly more unique, bigger, etc.
Nibhrant, now, this is a sort of small-ish community of relatively wealthy people who are potential buyers for these kind of homes.
Right.
How does the brand reach out to them? Like, what's the engagement model?
So I think it's different for each brand, right? Lohono is a hospitality platform, right? For in all intents and purposes. So they're actually, funnily enough, 50% of our business is repeat cohort.
Okay.
These are people who keep coming back to holiday, and we have a very strong loyalty program. 80% of our business in Lohono is actually organic. That means they come directly to the platform. And then there's another 20% where there's performance marketing, etc., etc. Right?
And the booking is entirely via the Lohono platform, or is there
20% might be through travel agents or OTAs, etc., etc. But when you come to Isprava and Chapter, again, slightly different. Chapter, where we lean a little bit more on partners, right? Partners could be, wealth management companies like yourself. It could be pure play, channel partners, brokers, etc., etc. So that would be, in the Chapter's case, 20 to 30% of the time.
Sure.
In Isprava's case, it's single digits. In Isprava, it is almost purely through word of mouth, through references, through events, etc. You'll never see an Isprava advertisement ever. We don't want to go out and kind of showcase to the world that this is something for sale. Our buyers love that. Our buyers love that very few people know about who we are, and very few people can afford us. And that's something we focus on, right?
Yeah.
With a Chapter, it's a little different, right? There where, okay, you won't see an advertisement, but at some point you might see an advertisement, right? So that's broadly how it works.
This is very interesting. Now, how does it work at your end of things, right? What's the process of identifying a place where you will build a home, and then how will you offer it? And maybe without going into super specifics, we can talk about how the economics stack up in terms of the line items behind it.
Sure. One of the most difficult things to do in our country is buy clean land. Clean means your titles are clean, the zoning is correct. You're not going to have to deal with neighbors who are trying to encroach on you, and so on and so forth, right? We ensure that every single box is ticked vis-a-vis title, zoning, so on and so forth. And then we, of course, design and conceptualize the process, and we go out and sell it and construct it at the same point. The other pain with building a home is, after you buy the land, is actually getting permissions and actually building a home, right? And it's all, there's a lot of friction, right? And then when you talk about a location in which you don't live in, right? You might live in Singapore, you might live in Delhi, or you might live in Bangalore, and then you have to go and build a home in Goa or Alibag or Kasauli or whatever it might be. There's even more friction, right? Sure. And then you're going and building that one home. So everyone in that supply chain is incentivized to rip you off in some way, shape or form, right? Because you're only building that one home. They're not going to get anything out of you after that, right? At least with us, they know that, okay, these guys are here to stay, and they're going to be doing hundreds and thousands of transactions over a period of time. The way it kind of works is, and if you look at our cost structure, there's a cost for land, obviously. There's a cost for designing, which is fairly high because we use best-in-class designers, architects.
And these are people part of Isprava, or you have external designers designing it for
Both.
You?
So the way we do it is I'll use some technical terms, but up to a concept level, we use best-in-class international designers.
Sure.
But a concept is just a concept, right? And then we pull it in-house, and then our architects and interior designers take it from an idea to the working drawings and BOQs and all the other stuff, right? And then we tender it out and kind of build it out. If you're building your own home, the way to think about it is, from a total cost of about 100, depending on the location, land can vary from 25 to 40. 25 to 40 rupees on that 100.
Sure.
Your cost of design should end up being anywhere between 8 to 15 rupees on that 100. And the rest, 8 to 10%, is your cost of construction, right? And then if you're an organization like us, there's a whole load of other costs, like I said, 8 to 10% of corporate costs, etc., etc.
And how does the cash flow work? Does somebody booking a house pay you upfront, or they pay you in parts? What's the process like on that side?
So it depends when you come in and buy the home. But let's for now assume you're buying a home just before we start construction, right?
Sure.
So like any other real estate firm where construction linked, you come in, you put down your first check to book it, and then there are various kind of stages through the life cycle of construction that you keep paying. And it culminates when the last payment is when we kind of hand over the home to you. What's unique with us versus anyone else is our homes are not gray shells or warm shells or whatever else. We deliver you a fully furnished and managed home. The coffee machine, the cheese board, the Netflix has your name. When we give you the key, you can sleep in it on that first night. You bring your own clothes, and then we manage it for you, right? So again, that friction has kind of gone away. You don't have to staff your home. You don't have to deal with the headache of a light bulb going off, or the gardener saying that he needs more pesticide. We do it all for you, right? There's an app. There's an MIS. It beeps when we paid your property tax or your electricity bill, and it's really beautifully done.
But given that this is so boutique and so custom, does it take a long time to deliver these? Like, does it take like 6 months to a year even to deliver? Because that's how much time it takes for a sort of a apartment to get ready.
Yeah, so an apartment takes 6 months to a year because the structure's up, right? Sure. And you're doing the interiors, and sometimes it takes longer. And I can guarantee you 2 things there, or 3 things. Number 1, it's definitely delayed from what you expected. Number 2, what you get in your apartment that you do yourself is different from what you imagine, just because it's tough to go from imagination to reality. And third is you missed your budget for sure. You've gone over all 3 things. With us, if it's an empty plot of land on day 1, and we have to then put up a structure and do the interiors and the landscape, and sometimes it's part of a bigger project, so there's amenities and pickleball courts and gyms and all that other stuff. It can range from 12 to 18 months, which is very fast actually. And each home is unique. So we have a very, very, very unique and world-class tech stack that truly allows us to build at scale, right? So the way we do, standardization around our construction methodology, right? The way we quality check any sort of material that comes in, right? It's all on our app that we've kind of built out, right? The way we raise tickets for QA and QC, right? It's very, very unique the way we do it. And that's what's kind of allowed us to scale up. And, as we speak, we're building about 500 unique homes across 4 locations in India. And each home is different. So and so it's a tech stack, it's a process that allow us to do it at scale.
And you were, before we started recording, you were telling me about this recently concluded nearly 100 crore home that somebody bought. What went into a decision like that for somebody? What kind of net worth does somebody like that need to have? And what are the economics that they are thinking about behind it?
Right. So we've, I think in the last 5 years, sold over 40 to 50 homes at that 40 plus crore price range. In the what I was telling you before we recorded was we've just sold a 95 crore home, but we've sold, at least over 10 to 12 homes a year in the over 40 crore kind of price range, right? Which is significant.
Yes.
And so here's the thought process. Number 1, what we tell people is you are buying this home because you're buying it to truly enjoy the home, right? This is not a pure play investment. If it's a pure play investment, maybe I'm sure there's better things to do, right? So you are buying it because you want to enjoy the home. You want your family to enjoy the home. You want your friends to enjoy the home. This is where you do meetings. This is where business associates come, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the first kind of thing. Now once you know that's something you want to do, and of course then there's softer aspects to that, right? You want to be away from the city, you want to be one with nature, you want to breathe clean air, you want to play sport, you want to do all those things, and that home kind of provides you. It provides a space to truly create memories with the people you love, right? Sure. So let's assume that's point 1.
Yeah.
Point 2 is, why Isprava? Because we will build you the best home, the best looking home, the home that's the best quality by far in the world. And we will take away all other friction, right? Which is managing the home, maintaining the home, etc., etc. Now you come to the economic decision making, right? Or the financial decision making. Number 1, will this home appreciate over a period of time, right? So is there some sort of capital appreciation? Now, when you come in and buy a 40 crore home, that's not your number 1 trigger.
That's right.
Because if you can afford that home, you're not going to be selling it in 1, 2, 5 or 10 years.
Sure.
But will there be
capital
economic And I mean, will there be capital appreciation? The answer is absolutely yes, right? Because the way we think about it is we buy the best plots. And when you buy the best plots in the best locations, automatically there's appreciation. When it's an Isprava home, each home is unique. So, and we see that with our resale homes, right? We've done a few resales for our customers and you see quite inordinate amount of capital
So
appreciation.
just like in the last 5 years, you would have created a home, somebody would have used it and then sold it as well.
Yeah. So if I were to take the last 3 transactions, homes sold in 2021 to 2022, right? So I'm just taking a 3-year kind of, anywhere between 3 to 5 crores are now trading at 10 to 12 crores, right? Because again, it's very unique, right? What we're not doing is going into some mass market location and building mass market homes. Each home is a work of art. And if you like that home and it's in the best location, someone's going to buy it. Right?
I think, I guess the thing that when the home was conceptualized, there was practically nothing there. As it gets constructed, somebody can visualize it and therefore pays a premium for it.
Absolutely. Or they might have capital gains, or they want something immediately, or whatever else, right?
Sure.
And then lastly, if ever needed, I have the ability to monetize it on a day-to-day basis, right? Which is you put it on Lohono, Lohono rents it out for X number of days in the year. These are not long-term leases. So it's not like now there's a tenant in there, so you can't use the home.
Sure.
This is, hey, listen, I'm going to rent it out some weekends, some long holidays, some bank holidays. And the rest of the time, I'm still going to enjoy it. And suddenly, instead of being a cost center, it becomes a profit center. So it's not paying, however rich you are, you don't want that pinch of every month paying that bill for the, for the water or the electricity or for the repairs, right? Now, suddenly, the home is looking after itself.
Interesting. And, you spoke about those few cases where it's been 20 to 30% IRR on capital appreciation for some folks, and they bought it 3 years ago and they sold it now. What's the liquidity like? Like, how quickly do these homes turn around? Like, suppose I want to sell it today. How much time does it take for me to complete the transaction?
So there's a mixture of, so I can give you that answer, but there's nuance to it. It depends on location and on price point and on specific homes. But you're looking at a 3 to 6 month kind of window, 6 months at the out end. But invariably, it's a 2 to 3 month process. You usually get a bid within a month, right? But then closing out any real estate transactions takes that little bit more time. It takes 30 to 60 days after shaking hands, right? Just given that the title checks and registration and all that other good stuff.
I think what I find incredible is this, because they're so boutique and unique, both on the purchase side and on the sale side, the cycles seem really short. Right? Like you said, it takes 30 to 60 days to sell a property and about a month or 2 months to exit it once somebody has bought it. I think that's fascinating. Like, I would have thought that both of these are significantly longer.
And you would have been right, Sandeep, but at any given point in time, even internally and even with our board, right? We know, for example, we could double or triple our sales in any location if we chose to. But we don't. We limit how much we build in a year. So internally, we just say, look, this quarter, this is how much we're going to build. That's it. We're a luxury product. So it doesn't matter what our sales are. This is what we're going to build. And when you do that, there's always some level of scarcity. We always have a pipeline of buyers ready to buy a home. And we don't have homes ready to sell to them. Right? And that's one of our core philosophies as we grow.
Now, given that, people would want to travel to these holiday homes within 30 to 45 minutes, is it that they're usually close to cities and those are the ones that are doing well?
No, actually not. There are 2 or 3 types, right? One is the one close to the city. You can get away on a Friday evening, come back on a Sunday evening, you're 1 or 2 hours away, right? Alibag, even Kasauli, right? Quite close to Delhi, quite close to Chandigarh, etc. But our biggest market is Goa. And it will remain so. And that's not close to any city. But what is the decision-making process, right? For us or even a customer. Number one, is there an international airport, right? Or at least a world-class airport. And all our locations have that. Alibag has Mumbai, Goa has its own airport, Kasauli has Chandigarh, and so on and so forth. Kunur has Coimbatore. Secondly, is there enough hard and soft infrastructure that's already developed, right? Hard infrastructure being roads, highways, airports, electricity, water, etc.
Sure.
And the softer stuff, right? Schools, hospitals, bars, restaurants, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Thirdly, is there already a brand attached to that place, right? You don't want to be in the middle of nowhere. You want to be around like-minded people. And then fourthly is within that place, then you want the best plot, which is what we give you.
Sure. Fascinating. Nibhrant, you've advised other folks on their real estate investments and told them that they should buy this holiday home with X amount of capital appreciation and Y rent yield, etc. How does Nibhrant himself manage his own portfolio?
So I have a very small portfolio. I think like many founders, our capital is predominantly kind of locked up in the business itself. So hopefully one day I'll have a larger portfolio. But look, I keep it simple. I'm not an expert. I work with people like yourselves, but keep it very, very simple.
So you've kept it clean and simple.
Very simple. 10 stocks every Monday and 3 index funds every Monday, and that's it. And there's enough risk in the business as it,
I'm sure,
as it is.
Absolutely. And that's what we advise founders as well, that they're taking crazy amount of risk in their own business. There's crazy illiquidity in their own asset. So therefore, what they do outside of it needs to be really simple and clean and liquid.
Yeah.
Nibhrant, this has been fascinating. I've learned a lot about your business. Congratulations on what you've built and look forward to seeing what's next.
Yeah, thank you, and really pleasure being here. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sandeep and Deserve.